We are excited to be back here again. As you know, really since we began, a lot of us here, both my position as mayor, our city manager, our public works director, all of whom being comparatively new, we have noted that the way to improve our roads long term is to make sure that we are rebuilding and resurfacing our system. The pathway to better streets is through better investment and better work up front. That's why once again this year we are tripling the amount of lane miles that are typically resurfaced, going from 100 lane miles to 300 lane miles. That means in every part of Kansas City. We're on the east side today, but in every part of Kansas City. You'll see new roads resurfaced. You'll see us connecting more communities. Right now that we see that we have a road resurfaced on Brooklyn, Linwood takes you over to Prospect for work. We're going to Points West. That's the sort of thing we're proud of. A few other things to note. We'll note that the city's more than doubled its financial commitment in resurfacing. We've improved our coordination, importantly, with contractors and utilities. So for all of you who have always seen, right, a street that's resurfaced and then a contractor cuts it up right after, you're seeing both less of that in Kansas City and a lot more coordination up front. So we're not doing the work again and again and again. Another thing that I think is exceedingly important for us is that we're actually using a good infrastructure plan for how we're doing this. Our Public Works Director, Michael Shaw, our City Manager, Brian Platt, are doing outstanding work in making sure that we're organized in how we address these issues. The problem for Kansas City over all the decades in the past hasn't always been that we haven't spent money on the roads. It's that we haven't worked smart enough in terms of how we're planning them, how we're aligning with contractors and utility work, how we're making sure that our ordinances are aligned to make sure that folks resurface when they dig into our roads. And now we're seeing that we have additional video and sensor analysis for when roads are failing, when we know that we need to have work redone. This is a city working well, and we are proud of all of those who've been a part in that. My colleagues at the City Council and all of us who I think have taken some tough votes saying that we're going to spend tens of millions of dollars a year to enhance our resurfacing program, so you're not just seeing mediocre pothole fills. Instead, what you're actually seeing is a brand new street in situations where those streets need to be resurfaced importantly. We want to thank our contractors who worked with us. I have colleagues from Superior Bowen here today who are doing outstanding work. So many from our heavy contractors who do outstanding work, the Heavy Constructors Association, in terms of making sure we're rebuilding Kansas City. And I just want to say one other thing before I turn it over to the city manager. There are a lot of folks who didn't think it's possible that Kansas City will ever have good roads. I actually am someone who believes we can. We're going to continue to invest. But when I first became mayor, I did a ride-along with Public Works. And what was described to me was that Kansas City, Missouri has $5.5 billion of deferred maintenance. That was about in 2019, so imagine we've added just a little bit. But that will never mean that we just say we aren't addressing the problem. We will make sure that we address that problem in every part of the city, fairly, equitably, through study up front, making sure we're being smart, fair to our contractors, fair to our laborers, and more than anything, fair to our taxpayers and the people who drive through Kansas City each and every day. This is an important thing, probably one of the most important things that I've worked on since my time as mayor, but I know it can't happen without strong administrators, and with that I thank our Public Works Director and also our City Manager, who comes from a smaller city, not quite as many lane miles, but has come up with a smart way that we can address all the issues here. So with that, I introduce our City Manager, Brian Platt.
Thank you very much. Just to add a couple things here. We've got 6,000 lane miles of streets here in Kansas City, which is a tremendous number. And it's very obvious that many of those have not been touched in decades. So we've got a lot of catching up to do here. But what we're hopeful about is that by the end of this summer, we will have done probably close to 600 lane miles of streets. That means 10% of our streets in just about a year and a half since the two of us have been here, just about 2 years since, 3 years actually, since the mayor's been here. That's exciting for us. And this is the new bar, this is the new standard. We're changing the way we're thinking about infrastructure repair and maintenance. We're being proactive with it. And we're looking at this in two important ways. One is using technology to better understand the pavement conditions. We've got video analysis software hooked up to city vehicles that does a inch-by-inch analysis of every piece of pavement in the city to help us better understand exactly what streets are in the best and worst conditions. We can prioritize very easily using a data-driven approach that way. The other component of it is resident feedback. It's one thing to know that there's a street that is in poor condition, but maybe no one rides on it. It's another thing to think about where people are driving and moving around the most, and what has the most impact on our residents and our visitors here in Kansas City. And so we're using those two things. We're using customer and resident feedback and also technology and data to make sure we're getting it right. I think I'll just hand it off to Director Shaw. He's got a lot to say too. So
Michael Shaw.
there you go.
They stole all the thunder, man. They took all the thunder. Well, my name is Michael Shaw, the Director of Public Works. What a fantastic afternoon it is out here today. You're seeing work being done. And I learned a little while ago that we say, you know, the road to success is always under construction. And what you see is success happening right behind you. We're going to continue to succeed in our efforts that we're giving. Our goal is to have this 10% of our streets resurfaced within a year and a half, and we're well on our way with that. I think what makes all this happen is not just what we do, but I think we got some fantastic teammates in our construction division of Public Works, led by Mark Montgomery, and our street preservation manager, Mr. Garrett Ross. They do a fantastic job working with our most critical partners, not only you, the community, but our heavy construction industry that gets out there and work. And we could not do this without the likes of the Superior Bowens and the Ideckers and the J.M. Fahey's and the such. They are fantastic partners. They come, they answered the bell, they answered the challenge, and they stood up and they came out here. They're doing a lot more work, faster, better, and we're seeing fantastic results with what we have. One of the big things we do want to say is we know that there's a lot of roads that need attention, and we're getting to all those roads. We actually have more roads than we have money today, but we're going to continue to work on that. I think this council has proven that they are very interested in making positive, intentional changes that save taxpayer money, improve infrastructures in Kansas City, and more importantly, provide a safe, drivable community. And that is obviously our goal, to make sure we have a safe community. With that being said, I do want to introduce Ms. Bridget Williams, is the Executive Director of our Heavy Constructors.
Good afternoon. On this wonderful, warm, sunny day, I just want to let you all know that this is what we do every day. Rain, sleet, snow, or shine, we're out here. 100-degree weather, 30 below, we're working. And so we do want to thank the mayor, the city manager, and the mayor, the city manager, and the director of public works for the investment that they're making and the commitment that they're making, not only to the citizens of Kansas City, but to the workforce who are additional citizens of Kansas City. Our contractors live and work and play in Kansas City. And so we have a commitment to our communities, and we recognize all of the things that need to be done and all of the competing interests. And so we're just thankful that we have an opportunity to keep our employees working at $50, $60, $75 an hour to keep this city moving forward with benefits. And so again, I just want to thank the mayor, the city council, the city manager, and the director of public works for their efforts and the work that they're doing. We still have a long way to go. 10% may not sound like a lot, but it is a lot when you're unemployed and you don't have transportation to get to and from. We have to invest in our infrastructure. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just say one other thing, and then why not take questions if you have them, because you've been standing out in the heat. I think I've talked to the city manager about this, the entire city council. You can't talk about capping highways or building baseball stadiums if you're not taking care of basic services. I'm not making a comment as to any of those issues, but what I'm saying generally is here in Kansas City, we're making sure we're taking care of basics. Resurfacing our roads, filling potholes, addressing long deferred water and sewer maintenance. I know our Director of Water Services, Wes Minder, is here today. Making sure that we're paying our people their adequate worth. If not, trying to pay them even more, like signing our Local 500 contract yesterday. I hope the people of Kansas City see that this is a commitment to public services and public works that we will continue to make sure we look to each and every day as a fundamental priority. There have been a lot of challenges over recent years. One thing that we have always been sure to fully budget, since I've been around at least, is making sure that we're paying for our roads, our infrastructure, resurfacing, doing the important work that keeps Kansas City going, keeps our drivers able to drive in the city, takes care of those who are riding public transit, and so many more. And we'll continue to have that commitment for years ahead. With that, we say thank you. I acknowledge he's currently a journalist right now, Councilman Kevin O'Neill of the Labor Beacon, also the 1st District at large. Any questions for any of you, or are you all good?
As far as neighborhood roads, how can people make sure that they're
Yep.
rather than just the business?
Right. So in terms of, instead of arterials, how do we make sure that we're looking at neighborhood road resurfacing and filling? I'll say one thing, then I'll invite the city manager up to speak to it first. They're also on our list, right? We have that in our long list of roads that we're addressing, and so many are already there. You can try to contribute if you have an interest in your road being resurfaced by calling 311, letting us know on the My KCMO app. But then the other thing is, we think that through our street cut and other utility policies, we'll continue to address resurfacing needs, at least patchwork needed on a lot of our neighborhood roads, because we see where a lot of the problems happen is when there is a utility digging up, where there become long-term concerns there. We think that'll make an impactful difference for us. But Brian, anything to add?
I'll just add that we've got a real-time map of all the streets that we plan to resurface and have recently resurfaced. That map, I believe, was included in the press documents that everyone received. But you'll see a ton of neighborhood roads on there. Our approach is also to try and holistically resolve all the issues with streets and neighborhoods at one time rather than trying to doing a piecemeal. So you'll see some neighborhoods that have a lot of streets being done, and we'll be moving to the next one shortly after. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, equity is really important to us, and we're doing it in a few ways. We're trying to make sure that we're distributing the resources and prioritizing in all wards, all districts of the city. You'll see from the map that that's absolutely being executed upon. We're working with all of our council members to make sure that they provide us feedback and prioritize their neighborhoods and their streets effectively. But part of it also is just that some streets are just in worse conditions, and they happen to be in some of the most underserved neighborhoods. And so that's going to be an obvious target for us.
I think we'll just add, we'll add this one other thing. We stand in the 3rd District right now, which I had the fortune of representing on the council. If you look at Brooklyn, for example, we've resurfaced, from here, basically up to Truman Road, a long stretch through the 3rd District. Right now we're doing east-west in the 3rd District relating to Linwood. So I think you can see, now of course we try to be fair, but we also look at where we have a lot of failed roads, a lot of failed infrastructure. A lot of that is in older parts of the city that we have not invested in the past. And so we are not ignorant of that as a fact either. While we'll be fair to every part of the city, we're actually making sure that we address those areas that have been neglected for too long, and in neighborhoods that I think we've neglected too long in local government investment. Any other questions? All right. They're going to take over anyway, so thank you all so much.